Today we've reached the final day of our Africa qualifiers. It's also serving as the Africa Continental Cup.
We are very proud of what is happening now. This is the first time ever since we get back this baseball get back to Olympic.
We are very happy for this tournament because it's a long time Africa don't have this tournament in Africa. The last Olympic Games is 2008 in China. Baseball and softball worked together to come back in 2020 in Japan. Is very opportunity for Africa because if player playing and not Olympic is very difficult.
What has happened this week is enough evidence that we need to play more against our opposition. I think Africa needs to come together and play more baseball. And what is happening is the plan is to do that on a more regular basis in all age groups, because you want to compete in Africa to go and play in the next at the next international competition.
Baseball in Africa has dwindled down a little bit. So we took it on ourselves as South Africa, as the host, to organize the African Summit to reactivate African baseball. And we certainly hope that in the next couple of years there'll be much more African baseball, right through from under 12 right up to senior level.
For Africa is a new challenge for Africa. WBSA can see it's possible to play baseball now. And in my function in APSA, we want to work together to have a good program for baseball in Africa. It's possible. Every year you have all the tournaments, start Little League, Senior, Cadet, and every year we want to play, and all group also.
The winner of this particular tournament goes straight through to the European Africa qualifier, which is in Europe. And the winner of that tournament then goes through directly through to the Olympic Games. Runners-up goes into a runners-up pool, a world pool, which will be played in March 2020.
We haven't been playing any baseball in Africa. And if we keep the momentum from now on, we don't stop. Let's say even after 2 years, we have some zonal games or regional games, and then maybe come back again before the next Olympics, we have a qualifier. I think it will add more value to whoever is doing whatever they're doing, wherever they are.
The other countries, including Uganda, Zimbabwe and Burkina Faso, wants to play. They want to play against us, and we want that to happen on a regular basis.
I think the goal would definitely be to grow African baseball.
Baseball is going to grow tremendously, and particularly now that it's an Olympic sport again, it's certainly going to, jump leaps and bounds in the future.
Baseball can be like football. Why not? Just political will of the African government. We can move forward. We don't need more than that. No, baseball is not favorite sport in many African countries. Favorite sport is football, but today, what I am seeing now is very impressive.
It's possible to baseball to grow in Africa, and it's possible also to see the image for baseball in TV.
You can see the work that the outcomes of Uganda and also Burkina Faso, especially Uganda, where we had MLB coming in to assist them. And also you see one thing that there's also the Japanese that are involved. They have been supporting a lot in a small scale, not much. So I think there's need for more partnerships in terms of those countries that have got better playing baseball to come into Africa and help us uplift the game.
Right now, we are happy that we have come to this competition, and it has given us that vision that next competition, there should be progress and there should be more competition from the young ones up to then. Then we want to see that we are focused in World Cup competitions coming and maybe the next Olympic Games coming. So we want to groom up from now so the players can really focus into those competitions coming next.
Whenever we get to compete, we get better ideas on what we need to work on to get ourselves better. So well, we now know we are number 2 in Africa, and I know baseball always takes long to play international tournaments, and I hope maybe, and now the federation leaders are also working hard so that we can get game time. It's very important for players. If we can keep playing teams, players gonna get better, definitely, no worries.
I think already you can see Uganda, that they've invested there, and also in South Africa, and I'm sure you can see that. So I would ask all the other leagues, like the Nippon League, the MLB, to come out and support African countries. It's not much that is needed. It's just a small support. I mean, the athletes are there. Maybe we just need to have more coaches being trained and administrators to look after the game. And maybe if you support in terms of finance to make sure that teams travel and play the game.
Tomorrow, 80% of us have to go to work. That's why we're flying out tonight, so we can be at work tomorrow at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Some guys have missed class, one or two guys have missed exams. They've got to go, go back to university, go back to class. So, for a lot of us, tomorrow it's back to reality. It's back to, tomorrow it starts putting money away for later this year. And it's crazy for us at the moment to get into the gym, pay for physio, pay for biokineticus, pay for equipment, and then also to and fro from trainings. We've got to cover our petrol money. It's playing the sport in South Africa is a costly affair.
It's really, really tough, and obviously it's also tough for our players, our South African players. They have to sponsor themselves or try and find their individual sponsors because there's no funding from government. So each player to play in this Africa Champs, is forking out 8,000 Rand each. So it's a big burden on the player. But it's been a good road now because the senior baseball guys generally only play once every 4 years in the World Baseball Classics.
And a lot of us at the moment, some guys have to withdraw because they can't afford. And other guys are having to go out on Facebook, go out and look for sponsorships, look for funding. Quite a few guys have fundraisers that they've got to attend to. So it's tricky for us to focus on baseball when you've actually got to focus on first getting money to go. So it's a little bit tricky in South Africa at the moment. We need the funding, we need the sponsorships because we actually need to focus on baseball.
The sponsor in Africa don't think about baseball. And we have a plan to have a strategy how to find equipment, how to find sponsor also to grow baseball.
Oh, we're excited. We know we wanted to get this competition done. We wanted to showcase that we are, the #1 ranked, and we've done well. And hopefully, we can compete in the Euro Africa qualifier in September.
We were out here today to prove a point, to prove that we are the best in Africa. And, not just prove that we can play the game at a high level, but just show that we are streaks ahead of everybody. We put a lot of hard work in, we train hard. So at the moment, what we are trying to achieve is not just be Africa's #1, but we would like to compete on international level. But it starts here. We've got to aim for the top 12 in the world. Our goal was to be the best in Africa, not just be the best in Africa but the idea was to be the best in Africa by a long way.
I'd like to see my federation or my team beat South Africa. That's #1. And for me to achieve that, I think it's more of resources and support in terms of equipment that will contribute to that kind of a dream. But as well, I want to see baseball being played in many countries or even within my country everywhere else in Zimbabwe.
We had a good experience as Uganda because we were looking forward to it and wanting to come up and also participate in this tournament and see how far we can go. But unfortunately, we didn't make it that far. But we are happy that we are a mixed team of also young players who can learn from this tournament. So this is like a tournament for us to learn. So the young players in the future, they can also come in and really prove themselves worthy to take the competition. So we are happy for what we've got today.
Eventually, the sport will grow in Africa and in the whole world. And what I want to say, the world needs Africa. There is talent down in Africa. So what we're going to do is we got to see how best we can get the talent out, develop it, put it to the world, then we can grow.
Short-term goal right now is to qualify for the Olympics. That's our short-term goal. So we're going to prepare and do the best that we can to go to Europe this year and end up number one in that qualification so that we get a pink ticket to go to the Olympics. And then long-term goal is to get into the Premier 12. That's our long-term goal. And I think for us to be able to achieve those goals, we need to become professional. And that means a truckload of corporate sponsoring, money, and that's what we need as urgently and as soon as possible.